A one-way ticket can change your net worth forever. All you need is Wi-Fi and a dream.
A pastor turned suicide prevention leader turned luxury real estate empire builder in Dubai. Yeah, you heard that right.
I'm big on traumatic transformation, being able to turn your pain into power.
Natalie Williams' story is a plot twist no one saw coming. Grief, grit, and a $350 million deal later, she's rewriting what's possible for Kiwi founders.
I went and pitched my first developer, $350 million listing, the biggest listing in New Zealand. I got the listing. It's activism because money gives us power.
If you've ever wondered how to rebuild from rock bottom and still go global, you're about to find out.
I'm just so focused on getting the outcome. Kind of got sick of people asking me where my husband was and my children, but I wanted to be around other women that were really going full throttle and building empires.
Okay, Natalie, I am so lucky that I caught you here in New Zealand because your story is truly remarkable. You went from being a pastor to doing work in suicide prevention to now building a luxury real estate empire in the United Arab Emirates. Please tell me how those things fit together.
Wow, it's such an honor to be here. Love the space that you are creating for female founders and for women to share their passion and stories and businesses. So yeah, amazing journey. It's a great story. I feel like I've lived a few lifetimes already, as we probably all do. Everyone has a story. But I feel that I've been through a lot of different things in my life. And so I'm big on traumatic transformation because I feel like that explains my journey. And, it sounds so cliche, but really being able to turn your pain into power. So being a pastor for over a decade was incredibly fulfilling, but a very different way to spend your 20s.
Yeah. Let's rewind for a second. We'll go to the now, but
back it up.
I like to back up the truck, stop the traffic. I'm fascinated because you were in your 20s. What had you go, I'm going to be a pastor. This is it. Most people are like, let's go travel. Let's go to uni. You're like, no, let's save souls.
Yeah. So mum and dad were just incredible humans and very selfless. And so, dad was there at like 5, 6 a.m. putting out the chairs and they're just very humble. So they were like running church and they just taught us to help people. It was always about helping people. Like they helped people to a detriment. They gave even when they didn't have anything to give. But bless them. But they taught us stay humble, humble, hustle, help people. So that's how I grew up in a church. So I think it's a great incubator and a training ground because you learn really quickly about purpose, about hope, about faith. So I connected and grew up, I feel, really fast because I was leading things and I found my passion, I found my strengths, and I was, preaching and leading other people. And so I just naturally kind of evolved into leadership. And then before I knew it, I was kind of running, things nationally and conferences across the Pacific. And, it was very, very interesting. But then the politics of it didn't interest me, but they're really helping people. That's why I was there.
That's beautiful. And I'm skipping ahead. I'm going all over the place already and we're just getting started. But how do you marry that humility, that humble as a core value with this outwardly looking super luxurious, loud luxury life that you're now preaching?
Yeah, I think my message is financial freedom and wealth creation. And you know what? It's not even about the money. It's actually about fulfillment. So, what is your why? Yeah. But we're all actually seeking fulfillment. But money is an important piece of that puzzle. I've been broke. I don't come from money. So that has given me a gift of hunger. Now, being a pastor, you give everything up. I had nothing materially. You give everything up to serve humanity, but you deal with you're in the trench with people, you're living in the mess and you're seeing every type of hard situation possibly imaginable. But it was such an honor to be able to journey and walk through that, you know, with people. And so that's why it was so fulfilling. But then I started to create, you know, the suicide prevention tour. And that was just so amazing. But then I just felt like that was a season of my life. And you know what, to be really honest, I got tired of being broke and things have to be sustainable. And then I came into my 30s and I was like, okay, this is my winning era. You know, I love entrepreneurship. I love business. And Dubai is the pinnacle of luxury, but also of real estate. But it's about returns. So I really went searching, where are the best developers in the world? You know, where is somewhere that I can really like build an empire, but also really help other people do the same thing, because we have to be able to build abundance to live our dream lives.
Absolutely. And was real estate always something that was on your radar, or did you really go blank slate? What is the way to create that abundance and how can I help people with that?
Yeah, great question. It actually came to me, which was really interesting. So I was a pastor for like 10 years. I was very blessed to be able to get a scholarship. So I went through a big journey at school. I was kind of told at 14 I was never going to be anything of myself. I was never going to amount to anything. It was just because I had a different learning style to school.
Yeah.
Wish someone told me that then. But I remember at 14 being told I was basically going to be a dropout and just thinking no one defines me. I already had a good foundation of identity of knowing who I was.
I love that at that age already you were like, I will show you.
Yeah. And I, you know why, I'm just so grateful. Like gratitude is the highest frequency. And I'm so grateful that I had two parents that loved me. And then that became, you know, our perfect childhood and family. I went through so much trauma. So my dad was my hero, like my best friend. And then all of a sudden, you know, he has an affair with my mum's best friend.
Oh.
So you can imagine the person that you love and you've idolized, especially with values and faith.
Exactly. Especially growing up in the church like that.
So that was like bombshell.
Oh.
And you can imagine. And then, you know, he was not really part of my life for a year and a half. And out of the blue, I get a phone call and I get called to the hospital and he collapsed. And then the doctor like looks at me and says, you know, your dad has cancer through every major bone and organ in his body. And he's got months to live. And from that point, I forgave my dad.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is so powerful. And I had 6 months being his main caregiver and I watched him die. And death is so final. It's so out of our control. And there was a piece of me that was missing. And for the first time, I spiraled into a deep, dark depression. And I went through such a hard time and I had to get help and I had to get therapy. And I really realized that asking for help makes you strong, not weak.
Oh, absolutely. But that is a lot to happen in a short amount of time. And to go from not being in contact to then being his main caregiver. But also, what a incredible thing to be able to do for and with him, and also for yourself. That transformation, the person you became through that fire, is the person sitting here in front of me now.
100%. And it was so traumatic. And then, you know, going through and just experiencing the darkness of that depression, which was grief, and processing that, I had to learn how to rewire and reframe my thinking. And then I started to just be so grateful that I had a good 19 years with a dad that imparted so much about business. And he told me I could do anything I ever wanted to do. And I am like the 2.0 version of him. But when you watch someone die, it just really changes your life, because I made it in a vow to myself that I was going to go out there and create my dream life and help people. And I was never going to let something get in my way, like no limiting belief, no roadblock, no handbrake, whatever I went through. And I think when you go through a hard time in life, you either become very fearful and you shrink and you die, or you decide to become fearless.
And you rise to the occasion.
And you rise. But that strength and that resilience and that grit that you need for business, because you're off the cheap sheets and you're in the arena.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting in the arena instead of sitting on the sidelines having opinions about how everyone else is playing.
In the arena with the big boys, and especially going global.
Absolutely.
That was the foundation, the identity, but also the trauma, and taking you know, that pain and really finding power and purpose that really, really made me. And I would not be doing what I'm doing today without the strength that I really created in that season of my life. And then I went on to actually pioneer a suicide prevention campaign, and we toured New Zealand with the hip hop champions that I was managing at the time. And we toured New Zealand, 50,000 young people, with a message and a story of hope and purpose, and that it's okay not to be okay. And you can always figure it out, and you can always get stronger and work through whatever it is that you're going through. So it was just a beautiful time in my life. And I was just so lucky and grateful that I was able to work through it. And then now that I get to help other people do the same thing.
It is incredibly powerful. And also the suicide prevention tour, I think that's something I just want to touch upon for a second, because it's a topic very close to my heart, and something that is so incredibly important. And in doing that work, what did you see in touring around, speaking to these young people? What did you see? What do you want everyone, every young person that's hearing this, every parent that's worried about their teen, everyone who sees someone who's suffering, what would you like to say to them? What do they need to know?
Hold on to hope. There is always a way through. And in that darkness, you will find light, and you will become 2.0 and the greatest version of yourself. You know, your comeback's always greater than your setback. And actually suffering, when I went through therapy, I did years of therapy and inner work. I'm big on inner work. Honestly.
It's everything.
it is everything, your psychology. And, you know, neuroplasticity has taught us that you can regroove and rewire your brain, and being able to reframe your thinking is everything. So I would say to those people, anyone that's suffering or going through a hard time, I'd say embrace it. Have a cup of tea with your feelings. Lean in, because it's actually those times that we go through suffering that we go through the fire, you know, and diamonds are produced by intense pressure and fire and heat. And these are the greatest times actually of your life. Like, it's so hard going through it, but you will look back and be so grateful for the refining.
There's so much to learn, but I think in the moment, you know, to have a cup of tea with your feelings sounds impossible, right? It sounds, and especially in this day and age where we are constantly surrounded by ways that we can numb and distract ourselves from our feelings. We're actually not taught to be with our feelings. And I'm with you 100%. The power of our minds and rewiring our beliefs and detaching from those thoughts and beliefs and knowing that that's not us is so important. You remind me so much of me, you know, just put a silver lining on anything and everything, and it teaches you. And whilst that is all true, a piece that's often missed in actually, like you say, having a cup of tea with your feelings, sitting with your feelings, listening to your emotional cues, your somatic cues, and not just mentally overriding it, because in the personal development game, there is a lot of just mindset it, just say a few affirmations in the mirror every day and you'll be fine. And whilst those can be very powerful, not in a vacuum, and we can put ourselves in places where it's quite damaging, right? Where we're just not allowing ourselves to feel away, which can actually push you further away.
Not being afraid to sit with yourself and being alone, I think, as well. Like, I was always hyper functioning, always surrounded by so many people, but I had to learn to love spending time alone, and now I am so good at it.
I don't like people.
Well, it's like filling your own cup. And Jay Shetty, the 8 Rules to Love, the chapter 1 on solitude is such a game changer, because it just talks about self-love. Yeah. And it talks about learning how to fill up your own cup and like how to look after your own mental health. It's really important, because you want to be giving out over the overflow out onto the saucer. You can't give from an empty cup.
What would you say are your top 3 tools that helped you get through those hard times?
Therapy was really important for me. Seeing a psychologist, seeing a therapist, someone that can help you reframe your thinking. Also, I found a lot of people like Tony Robbins, and it's different for everybody, right? But find someone that's your vibe that actually helps you feel positive and helps you reframe your situation. And then also, like, journaling is really important too. Like, I would do a lot of journaling, and then also, like, really my future life. I started to script out my future life.
Yeah, that's such a powerful one.
Yeah, audio recording, and then I created a vision board, and I would save it to my smartphone, because you look at it around 400 times a day, the average person. So I started to really retrain my reticular activating system, and that really helped me, because it's like hones in, you know, all the neurons in your brain and what they're focusing on. So that was all really important to me. I think also like being open with people, but that I was going through a really hard time. That I really struggle with that because I'm such an optimist.
Yeah. And also you came from a background of being the pastor. You're always the one holding space for everyone else. It must be very different to all of a sudden be, hey, I need help. I need holding right now.
Yeah. And also when someone's dying, like people are kind of there supporting, and then you have the funeral and then everyone goes back to their lives and their jobs, and you're left with this piece of you missing that you can never replicate and you can never get back. And so now you have to learn how to rebuild your life and rebuild yourself and rebuild your mind. And that was a big process for me. But that work has been so pivotal to my strength and my grit and my resilience, because now I'm like, that was one of the worst things that could have ever happened to me in my life. I know people go through a lot worse, but for me, that was one of the worst. So I was like, you know what? I've now gone through one of the worst things that could have ever happened, because all I wanted was my dad to do life with. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and fearlessly pursue my dreams and make him proud.
That is so beautiful. And you have. So after you came out of this depression, crawled your way out of the darkness, you started the suicide prevention tour. What brought on the shift? Tell me about the moment that you looked back at your life as a pastor, doing all the suicide prevention work, really still very much in service, and that decision to go, I'm actually going into business.
Yeah. I know, it is a shift. It is a shift. I think I just had this hunger inside of me, and I knew that it was time and I was going into a new chapter of my life. I also think creating financial freedom for yourself is really important. So what happened is, I am very resourceful. So I found funding for our tour. I got on the plane. I went and met with Ministry of Health. Like, I will knock down any door. Like, whatever needs to happen, we're going to make it happen. Like, that's just who I am. So we got funding, but then I just realized how unsustainable it was and how hard I was fighting. And like, I just honestly thought, wow, imagine if, you know, with nothing, we're helping all these people. I need to go out and really like build my own financial base so that in the future I can help people in a more powerful way.
And you don't have to ask, you don't have to go around looking for money. You can actually create a self-sustaining ecosystem.
Yeah, and you are just giving so much of yourself. But I also had such an interest in business. So I became COVID hit. I went and built my own 7-figure agency, PR, events marketing. I did a communications degree, and I was working for all these amazing clients, like the biggest events. I went and did everything I kind of wanted to do, the best and the biggest in New Zealand, and that was amazing, and learned a lot. And then built my own agency, and then COVID hit. And all of my clients, the first thing that they cut were their retainers.
Yeah.
You know, PR.
I used to own an agency.
Yeah, like you get it. You know, the first thing to go when people like something like COVID is the PR budget or the marketing budget. So that was amazing, because I was like, wow, everything I've worked for the last 2 years has gone overnight. And so that was a big wake up call again. So being agile, being able to pivot and being able to really like know what your strengths are. And, you know, so straight away I was like, you know what, this is really going to end up on a downward slide in New Zealand. I need to start thinking globally, and I need to transition into another industry. So I used that time to become a trained Tony Robbins coach.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was like, well, this is great because I can help people. I'm not trying to convert them into believing in anything. I can just help them.
No, we've had those days.
But you know what I mean? Like how freeing just to be able to help anyone, like mindset, business. And so that was great. But then not many people in New Zealand have the budget for that. Right. So I was like, that again is a passion project. This is not something that's going to be like a huge money maker. And then my friends kind of came to me, and my family, I had a few like developers and property investors in my family. They're like, now all your skill set, you need to go into real estate. And so they were the ones that actually said it to me. And then I went and joined a top team, and I just saw what they were doing. Then I went and pitched my first developer, $350 million listing, the biggest listing in New Zealand. I got the listing, and then I started using all my PR and marketing skills because I saw things differently.
And so did you have this moment? Tell me about the moment that you just started this and you're like, of course I'm going to pitch the biggest deal ever in New Zealand. And the moment where you're like, oh, fuck. Like, wait, they said yes. Now what?
I think I'm big on manifestation and, you know, like Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
Like he talks about how you can't go looking for certain things, but you have to draw also experiences to you, but you have to become it.
Yeah.
So I'm big on that. Like you got to be it before you become it.
100%.
So I just started going, okay, what's that future version of me look like? And started turning up and doing the rituals and the behavior. So I pitched this developer as just the future,
it was already done.
the future best property person that I knew I could be, but it was my strategy. And I think like Tony Robbins talks about, you know, your strategy, your story, and your state. And that's really helped me. You've got to have a better strategy than anyone else, but then you've got to actually execute. You've got to have the idea, but you've got to know how to actually make that happen.
Well, so that's my question, right? Like beyond the outside world and the vision boards and the manifestation and showing up as, was there ever a moment where you've done all the scripting, you're listening to it over binaural beats, you're pitching like your future self? Of course they say yes because it was already done. But is there ever been a moment where you then go home and like, oh fuck, like hold on, I've like projected, not in a fake it till you make it way, but I've projected this future version of myself. But there's this gap, right? I'm not quite her yet, going to get there. Was there a moment where it's been pitched, it said yes, and now what? How do I know exactly how to do this? Because it's never been done. It's the biggest deal ever in New Zealand. And I just make that happen.
When you're in it, like I'm just so focused on getting the outcome. So I was already like, we're doing the VIP event. This is how we're going to expand our reach. We need to focus like China, like foreign investors. So I think I was just in it, you know?
Oh, I love that so much. I keep saying like, first of all, entrepreneurship in general, but specifically if you kind of work in the metaphysical, I think you need a healthy dose, maybe even an unhealthy dose of absolute delusion.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolute delusion. You need to see things that aren't there.
Yeah.
And then of course, this is happening.
Yeah, there is. Like, and everyone else thinks you're Delulu. 100%. Yeah. And that's why you'll be very careful who you let. Like, you know, your diet's not just what you eat. Like, it's the people you hang around, the conversations. It's going to affect your cognitive,
the social
behavioral
media.
thinking. Social media, amazing business tool, so toxic for mental health. Everyone's putting their highlight reel. But do you know how hard it is? You know, founding a business is the hardest thing you could ever do in your whole life. Like, but there's been so many knockbacks. There's been so many things that haven't worked out. Like, no one sees that, but you just get the fuck back up and go again. And I coach myself. I'm like, get up.
It sounds like it.
I'm like, get up.
Fuck back up. Drop and give me 20.
Yeah, that's exactly. Like, I record myself. To talk to myself. Yeah, because you're the hero of your own story. No one's coming to save you. You can't be the victim.
No.
You cannot be the victim. So for me, it was like, this is what we're going to do. And I was just really lucky that I've had some amazing mentors and people throughout that process. I've also been sexually harassed in a workplace and had to leave. I've also had some terrible experiences in business where I have walked away and people haven't done the right thing by me. But you know what? You either win or you learn. And so I'm grateful for the education.
Failing forward, that's the way to go.
And you are in the arena, the only certainty you're going to have is that, you know, you are going to get your teeth kicked in from time to time, but it's what you're going to do with it. So it's all the psychology of, you know, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you choose to react to it. So being in your power, I'm just like always taking my power back. And when things, I'm like grateful. And also doors that close, rejection is redirection. And I'm grateful. I'm like, that's just not my person. That's just not, I'm not meant to be working with that person.
Trust that. If something just isn't working out, it's not for you. I'm a big believer in what's meant for you cannot miss you, and what's not will never stick.
Well, that's alignment. And I think when we work on ourselves, you have a frequency and a vibration. And so when you walk into a room, people can feel your energy before you even open your mouth.
Oh yeah. I mean, in the end, we're human animals, right? Our nervous system responds to someone else. Someone can say exactly the right things, do exactly the right things, and it just feels off. Like that's, your energy is felt way before and way louder than any words you speak or write. And trusting that and going with that is such a superpower that is so undervalued. You know, your gut feeling, that kind of
your gut.
knowing.
Intuition is so important, and looking within yourself, because you actually have the answers inside of yourself.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right here because I love it. It sounds like I am sitting across from Tony Robbins, only hotter and with red lipstick. And there's so many gold nuggets right there, in the way you view life, in the way you rewrite narratives, and all those things. I can imagine there might be someone watching who is not quite so proficient, let's say, in the personal development world, and is looking at this conversation and looking at us and thinking like, it's nice for you to say, but you've got it all figured out. Where can someone start? What are little things that maybe a younger version of you, or actually maybe not a younger version of you, because it sounds like you were like this. You came out of the womb like this, drop and give me 20. What are little ways people can start? Because I know from experience that when you do this work for a long time, I'm a trauma-informed master coach. I do this stuff all day, every day. And you kind of forget that things that seem not basic, but logical and kind of are ingrained, and we have formed these neural pathways so they don't feel as wobbly and scary, that it can be quite daunting if you're in a dark place. If you're not sure where to start, what advice would you give someone listening?
Gratitude list. Write down every morning or every night 5 things that you're grateful for, because gratitude is the highest frequency. Yeah. Also priming, Tony Robbins, listening to something that serves you. All you need is Wi-Fi and a dream. And even if you don't have the dream yet, if you just start working on yourself, it will come to you.
All you need is Wi-Fi and a dream. Let's fucking get that on some t-shirts. Yeah.
But it's true. And I would just say to myself, like, you have no excuse, especially when you have your health. And when you watch someone like die, it doesn't matter what I'm going through. I just said to myself, like, reframe your thinking. Like, even no matter how bad it feels right now, there is still something you can be grateful for. The other thing too is actually go serve someone else.
Oh, that's everything, actually. Especially I have found in times in my career where I was lacking clarity. I was lacking direction. And that often comes with like burnout and like just depression. It's like nothing felt like anything really. The quickest way out of that state for me has always been focusing on service. How can I be of service to someone? And through that, I find some spark again and can move. I think that's actually such a glorious piece of advice. If you don't know what to do or where to start, just be of service to someone in whatever way, shape, or form.
It is so powerful. Also, the Gallup Strength Finders test, you can go online. You can work with a coach. I did a coaching session, but you can go online and pay, and it will guide you through just like a simple questionnaire and tell you what your 5 top strengths are. Everybody should do it. It was such a game changer for me.
We'll link it in the show notes. Absolutely.
It is so powerful, and it's like what you bring, what you need. Also, the Tony Robbins 6 human needs. There's so many YouTube videos. Go listen to it. But it talks about the 6 human needs being like growth, contribution, variety, significance, stimulation, all these different needs. And when you really understand those different needs, it's like self-mastery.
Yeah,
you learn what you need, or you learn in different seasons how you can master those different needs. Like even if you don't have a partner, like I'm single, no kids. And so many of my other friends are in different seasons, but also just stay in your lane. Don't compare, don't compete, and just lift other people up. But going and shifting your state by going and helping someone else is really important when you're going through a hard time. Get out of your own head, get out of your own way, and get up and go and serve someone else, or go look after someone that's going through a hard time. I tell you what, if you sit with somebody that's going through, having chemotherapy, it's going to make you very grateful for your life.
Absolutely. And then drop and give you 20.
Look, I understand. Like I have friends that, they have medication, they have other chemical imbalances. Like I'm not you know, for me, it was grief really that I was going through in that experience. But I know that there are people that do really mentally struggle, and I know that it's such a hard struggle. But I know that with therapy and there's people out there that can help you. And also who you surround yourself with is really important. Make sure that you are around positive people that build you up and don't cut you down. Like this tall poppy thing in New Zealand, I have unsubscribed.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because the shift in lifestyle, right? So I just have this picture of you first as a pastor in the church, and now this contrast, like luxury penthouse in Dubai. Yeah. The contrast is huge. Now I hear you when you say, yeah, it's not as big. It's actually all about being of service, just in a different way, because I'm helping people to find financial freedom. But before we go into that, the shift from little old Aotearoa to Dubai, which is also not that big, but quite a different, like showy,
different
bigger,
culture.
Yeah, very different culture, different religion. How did the girl who grew up in a church here in New Zealand land there? How did you find your way? And what are the biggest differences that we can learn from on how they do business?
Yeah.
And what are the things they can learn from how we do business?
Look, New Zealand's so beautiful. I'm so grateful to be a Kiwi. I think Kiwis are so innovative. We have some amazing entrepreneurs. Our nature offering is world-class. Coffee, food, wine, amazing. I'm so grateful that I get to be a Kiwi. I think we're also so genuine and down to earth. That is the feedback that I get when I travel all around the world. And quite often I'm the first Kiwi that so many people meet. And they're just like, wow. They're kind of a bit like...
What?
Shocked.
I've never seen that on a map. Oh, yes.
And they think we're from Australia, and you have to tell them we're a separate country and all of that type of thing. But look, I think that New Zealand has some amazing, advantages, but I just outgrew. And also I wanted to be around more like-minded people. And I just found that in New Zealand, like a lot of people settle down, they do kids, which is amazing, and that's their dream. But I wanted to be around other women that were really going full throttle and building empires. And I kind of got sick of people asking me where my husband was and my children.
But it's ironic that you're going to a Muslim country where traditionally people would think that it's also mostly about getting married and raising families.
Yeah, their culture is, but it's 85% expat. So I wouldn't go anywhere else but Dubai. But look, it was a strategy economic play. So in terms of world-class developments, it's the best place in the world for real estate in terms of the uniqueness of inventory, but also their payment plans. Like there's nowhere else in the world where you don't even have to go to the bank to get a mortgage, and you can pay interest free off the principal of a development. So, sell off the plans for the best developers in the world. So, here I am in a billionaire office of a billionaire developer landing them. And it's just insane, the wealth creation that it can really create. But going back to the 6 human needs, it's all about contribution, because this information is so many scams. There's so much corruption in the world now. There is so much misinformation. I wanted to be able to create a safe space for investors. People were coming to me like, we don't have 15 years across Australasia for our money to double through property. No. So I would say to them, what's the why behind creating the financial freedom for you? It's more than just it's not about greed. It's about being able to help a loved one when they're sick. It's about being able to have more time with your children. It's about maybe being able to create a charity that helps, orphans across the world. Like it's different for everybody, but it's activism because money gives us power.
How is that met by, let's say, your old community, the people from your pastor days? Because I hear you, but saying, luxury real estate is activism, I can imagine that some people struggle with that worldview. Have you received any pushback?
Oh yeah, like New Zealand, there's lots of tall poppy. I've had that my whole life. It's like, but I just unsubscribe. Like I don't
unsubscribe.
I've unsubscribed to that toxic culture. To be honest, when we broke the story, because I'm the first Kiwi to actually do this across Australasia in this way, because we invest so much into our actual investors, we give them so much education. It was really interesting because I thought, oh, here we go. And there were some very misogynistic comments. And look, when you put yourself out in the public eye, that it's licorice all sorts. There's a mixed bag of people out there. And there were some comments, but you know what? You just don't read them and you focus on the people that you're here to serve. So the way I run my life is I've got the people that I'm here to inspire and empower, and they're my people that I'm here to serve. And I do that through keynote speaking, my podcast, my platform. I then have my coaching clients, and then I have my investors.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works for me. And
anyone else doesn't exist.
Your capacity, you only have so much time and energy. So you've got to be like super selective on the people that you're here. So if you're a hater and you're doing nothing with your life, get off the cheap seats, get in the arena. Like the critics don't count, because you know what I mean? And Brene Brown, the Call to Courage, talks about that. So I'm pretty brutal with that stuff. But when the story broke with the New Zealand Herald, I had an overwhelming positive response. Like I had honestly so many beautiful messages of people saying, go Nat, run, you know, this is amazing. Thank you for doing this. And you know, making
leading
the way.
You're leading the way for a generation of Kiwi girls to see what is possible. You cannot be what you can't see, what you have you're talking about your manifestation game, your vision board. If you have no concept that something is even remotely possible, the way there is near impossible.
Yeah.
And you are paving the way. You are modeling it, you're embodying it, you're living it. And through that, beyond the work that you do now, you are showcasing what is possible beyond our little borders, because that is something I'm very interested about as well. Like I've always thought geographical boundaries are super irrelevant, especially the idea that we would be limited to the country we were born in, where we live in, seems odd to me. Because when you have a product or a service that you believe has the potential to positively impact lives, why would you not, keep that to yourself? But when moving here 9 years ago, and starting my agency at the time, I was surprised by how insular the thinking, again, this is 9 years ago, guys, but around New Zealand was compared to, for example, Europe, because obviously we're a lot less isolated in Europe. So there is a lot more trade and ease between countries, and maybe more of a mental framework around that. But I found that hard to find here. And yet here you are saying, I'm building a global empire.
Yeah, global is a whole nother level of complexity, legality, compliance. Like I slay dragons. Like the problems that I am solving on a day to day. Like I've just done back-to-back 2 a.m.s. Like that's what it takes. But I have to say, it's mind blowing to me that a one-way ticket can change your net worth forever because of the tax situation in Dubai. So not only isn't it like an accelerated real estate market where you're doubling your money in 5 years on average, the unique projects are like 2,600% over 14 years, 185% year on year capital growth.
Okay, so let's rewind. What do you mean when you say a one-way ticket can redefine your net worth? Slow it down for like the people in the back, like me, who are absolute newbies when it comes to property, international investing in this arena.
I'll break it down for you.
Thank you.
So just by moving to Dubai, you have to be there 6 months of every 12-month period to become a tax resident. It's 0% personal tax, 0% inheritance tax, 0% wealth tax, 0% capital gain tax. If you set up a business there, only 9% corporate tax. So in New Zealand, you pay around 39% if you're in the high tax bracket. That's a lot of money. In Australia, the ATO, the Australian Tax Office, are implementing even more taxes.
Yeah.
And New Zealand will eventually start. They're already looking at bringing all these wealth taxes. You're looking at around 50%. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Not to mention, Dubai is a global hub and there is just more economic opportunity. The opportunities that are coming to me now because I'm in a global league are unbelievable. We're talking cover stories in the US and just all over the world. People are coming and they want to talk to me. They want to hear what I'm doing. But also the wealth creation part of it, I do analyze thousands of property investment deals, but basically on average, if you've got from 500,000 through to 5 mil, which is where most people do buy, right? You actually can double your money in 5 years. Now you tell me what else will double your money in 5 years. If you're renovating, you've got to know how to do it. I'm hopeless with a hammer and it's so much time and energy. Imagine all the staff and the cost you've got to put into a business to make sure it doubles in 5 years. This you just invest and they build it for you. That's a game changer for people.
That's amazing. So is this something that the average Kiwi listening to this podcast, the female founder here that has built her business, has built up some capital, and is looking to invest, how can they double their money in 5 years?
Yeah, so definitely book a call. Like go to wealthcreators.ae, they can book a call. We go through all of the mechanics of wealth creation. So if it's your first time, by the time you've even had your first meeting with me, I will take you through the doubling population. Dubai is going to double by 2040. They want to be the most livable city. We look at the D33 economic agenda, the government's commitment to the transportation upgrades and the infrastructure is unbelievable. 100 transformational projects. So they're doubling their economy. So we look at the gap between, where the demand outweighs the supply. So I teach you this. I educate you on investment so you understand it. And by the end of that session, people are just like, the lights come on.
Oh, amazing. Isn't it crazy how we grow up in a world, not just here in New Zealand, everywhere, where financial literacy is just not something we are taught. That we come out of whatever, if you go to college, you go to university, in the States often, also in a crazy amounts of debt, knowing all these things that now in the rise of AI are not that relevant anymore. Yet we know nothing about how to actually create wealth, not just make money, and how to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, that's right. But also like living life on your own terms. You're the architect of your own life. Going to a 9-to-5 that you hate, like that is depressing.
Listen, I agree. It's not for me. But I've had conversations with friends of mine who are so happily employed and that works for them.
Look, some people, that's their dream. Let's be honest. It's a very small percentage of people too that actually want to build a business and you're working constantly.
Yeah. And we were talking about that delusion. That delusion is not just necessary in terms of visualizing where you want to go. It's also the only way you would put up with what it actually takes to build a business.
Oh, totally. And I've got friends too, and they love their job, and they feel like that's making them fulfilled. So whatever it looks like for you, look, everyone has different strengths, but know your strengths, know your superpowers. And like the leadership expert John Maxwell, I just love how he talks about, don't waste your time making your 2 a 5, but make your 6 a 10 or your 8 a 10 because the world wants 10s. And that's really stayed with me. And look, everyone has different goals and that's cool. Like you do you, but it's just about fulfillment. But even in that process, investing wisely, you can't save your way to wealth.
Oh, absolutely not. The conversations I've had with people are like, oh, no, just like I'll skip lunch this week or I won't have a coffee. And I'm like, that's not gonna. And
look how hard it's been like the last 5 years. I think also looking at the government, you've really got to start looking at, I used to always just think like, how do you serve your country? But I think smart entrepreneurs or just in general, investors are now asking, how does my country serve me? You've really got to start to think what is going to be the best place for your future and what is the future that you're really trying to create and reverse engineer that. Like that's a lot of tax. And if you're happy to pay that for what New Zealand offers you, then that's great. But I wasn't. And I just felt like in this season with what I'm doing, Dubai offers me more. So, but that's come with, you can imagine, like the hustle and the grind, Yeah,
absolutely. And also you wouldn't have it any other way.
I'm built for it. And I would just feel like I don't want to look back on my life and wonder what if. So I'm like, I'm here, I'm gonna give it my best crack.
Yeah. I'm curious, but before we go there, let's circle back because I'm really interested in hearing your view on what us Kiwi founders can learn from the entrepreneurial mindset and way of working in the UAE. And what is one thing that you think is really something they can take from us?
Yeah, really good question. I think over there, their government is so innovative and futuristic and, they are really attracting entrepreneurs. I think it's a government thing. I think, when you look at the UAE government and the millionaire migration map, the UK lost, I think it was 9,500 millionaires last year. China and India are losing them as well. And the UAE actually gained 6,700 millionaires and is on track to gain 50,000 millionaires over the next 5 years. I had a meeting with the, Dubai tourism and economic, like the head guy, and he's like, we're meeting with billionaires, trillionaires. They are just so incredible. They are attracting the top talent from all around the world, and they're doing that by incentivizing them and making it a place where they can win. So I think that's something that New Zealand could really, our government, I think that we need better incentives for people to want to be here and found businesses.
Awesome. And is there something that you think us Kiwis, that we kind of export in terms of our way of doing entrepreneurship and business?
Yeah, well, look at the NBR list, $100 billion there. We have some of the greatest minds and innovators in New Zealand. I think our produce, is some of the best, world class. Whenever I travel, seeing New Zealand wine and, beautiful food on the menu, like we are just so amazing and innovation. But I think what people need to realize is that also, a lot of our future entrepreneurs and millionaires are going overseas because they feel like they can win and they can build better businesses over there. So I think that that's something that New Zealand needs to really start to consider.
Absolutely.
But also the help for budding entrepreneurs here. I would love to see more funded programs for people to receive coaching and education to inspire them, to help them with their business strategy and marketing.
Oh, absolutely. It's so important because I think there's so many misconceptions about what it takes, where to start, and then people don't do it because they're like, I don't even know.
I'm so passionate about that. I also think the female founder is growing and this is our time. And so for young women, oh my gosh, social media, what an amazing opportunity for you to build a brand and stand for something. And the crazy thing is that I have more opportunities right now to serve and to give contribution by helping people with my story and also educating them with the knowledge and the things that I've seen than I ever have in the four walls of a church.
Isn't that crazy? But you have the reach now and you can teach them so much.
But you go to the UAE, Dubai is very humbling. It's like there's no flex. There's so many levels. But you know what? I didn't want to be the big fish in a small pond. I wanted to be the small fish in a big pond because I wanted to be able to see people that were operating at such a higher level than me so that I could grow and be inspired.
Yeah, because, what you can see will then give you that pathway. So tell me, right? You did it all. You created the vision board, you manifested it, you stood there and you're living it, you're breathing it, you're embodying it. What's next?
You know what? I think I'll go full circle. I think that this is my empire building era. I'd love lots of opportunities for keynote speaking. I feel like that's a really amazing opportunity for me for contribution. I think I'll be doing a lot more of that. And I love coaching. I'm really passionate about coaching, but I feel like I'll go full circle and later on in life, I'll go back into full-time philanthropy. I would actually really love to found something that really helps female founders because it's so hard to get. Yeah, they're just so hard to get funding. And I've really hustled. I actually turned down investment in the early stages because they didn't align with my vision. And I've had really negative experiences with people coming and throwing their weight around and money around in the early stages and taking things off course. So I'm very relentless. Relentless ambition I think is important, but I think I'll come full circle and I hope that one day I get to empower other young women to really go and do it because I know how hard it's been.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And it's funny how that circle just completely comes back around in a way that you probably never even expected.
Totally. But I think also I've seen people not coming from money is really powerful. Like you don't get the network, and so you have to build everything yourself. But what you do have is, identity and a hunger. And that hunger is just unrivaled. And I think that's such a gift, but also the power of being broke. Like if you're broke right now, that's actually a gift. Like go work on yourself and get an amazing idea and then get around people that are going to make you better and just keep working. Your whole perspective, like having eyes to see things is just so important. And then seeing how big the world is, over 8 billion people is just, it's mind blowing to see the potential out there. And I think we're going to see so much extraordinary talent in the future come out of New Zealand.
Absolutely. I mean, the pool, I was at a business event last week and it was all about the leaders of the future and just the people on the stage, but also the people at the tables. I was just looking around in awe with what people are up to and what they can create.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, I want to ask you about money mindset, because we talked about New Zealand specifically having, you know, a severe case of tall poppy syndrome. And I can imagine growing up in such a, like you started your share, right, humble environments. The mindset around money is something you probably very intentionally developed and stretched and grew. What are some of the most important things that people should know around money mindset and how to actually create the vessel that can hold this kind of wealth and growth and expansion?
Yeah, I think being a giver is really important. I think generosity is a really underrated value. You know, in today's world, I think, you know, it definitely starts with thinking, but I think also like just the doing and realizing that life is always happening for you, not to you.
Yeah.
And once you realize that, you become wealthy in your mind. Like I became rich in my mind and in my life in terms of fulfillment and knowing my purpose and being aligned with that much, you know, way before the money started to actually align. Now, I see a lot of people come into new money and they can't handle it and it changes them. But the great thing about pain and the great thing about trauma is that it keeps you grounded. So money just becomes a powerful resource for you to build and to be able to help more people. And so that's why it's important. I was just a keynote speaker at the Freedom Summit, and all the proceeds went to the John Fawcett Foundation to heal blind people in Indonesia. So really giving back, always being a part of things like that, you know, staying humble and hungry, but don't be afraid to be confident. Like I got bullied all through school. I went through all of that. It all turned around, and then they nominated me for Heat Girl by the end of it, and I, you know, got the scholarship. But I've been through so much pain in my life. And so I just want to say to people, like, honestly, turn that pain into power. Like, use it. Use that shit. Fine.
Drop and give me 20.
Yeah. I'm an A-type. But, you know.
I was so subtle. I don't know.
But it comes at a price. Like, I'm single. Like, I've had to say no to relationships.
Well, and that's it. It's a trade-off. You can have it all and be it all, but not all at the same time.
You know what? I know. And people say this, and I'm like, look, I do think that eventually, but can you have it all at the same time? I don't know. For me, I feel like there's been sacrifices, like intimate love. I've had to say no to people because they haven't been able to add value, and they would have been someone that held me back.
Yeah, but that is just someone that's not aligned with you. Yeah, right. It's not the right match. I think it's important to know that you can, like, have it all, be it all, but I also really am a big advocate for not at the same time. Yeah. Like I had a season the season you're in was my hustle and grind, and that's why I kind of joke about the drop and give me 20.
Because you've been there.
Yeah, I have been there, and it served me really well. And it is not sustainable. It is not a way to live forever.
Yeah, you only have certain chapters and decades in your life where you can push things that hard.
Yeah, and also where you maybe want to. Like, I think that that hunger is incredible. And I remember having a conversation with a friend, and I was like, oh my God, what I would give to feel hungry again. Because when you're in a depressive state, you know, it's just everything's numb on a good day. So I was like, that hunger, like, I just don't care about anything. Now, that was obviously my mental health at the time, and I am very happy that my hunger has shifted over the years. I'm still hungry for growth and expansion, but not at all cost. I don't need to, like, constantly expand and grow and be in that state of chaos that comes with creation. There's other values that are more important in this season. Yeah. Never, I'll always be a builder, a creator, an entrepreneur, and do stuff. But I built that multi-million-dollar multinational agency we were talking about before with that same hunger. But I lost sight of anything that was actually really important. I really lost myself over those 8 years, and I had all the success and all the money and everyone is cheering you on, because at that time that hunger came from a space of at any cost. I just wanted the growth, the expansion. That is definitely something that shifted for me, but I'm so happy I had that season. I think that's
there are different seasons. There's different chapters, you know, in your life.
Yeah, and I love how you say like that you envision the next, or not immediately the next, but you imagine going full circle and bringing all that.
That's my goal. I loved, you know, it's so fulfilling, such a fulfilling part of my life, and such a privilege. It's such an honor to be able to serve people, but also success is holistic. You know, your well-being, your mental health, like you're having meaningful relationships.
Absolutely.
Curating your inner circle, you know, you've got to do what lights you up. And that does look really different, but whatever that is, go do that, you know, because life's short.
Well, and if anything, you are the walking, talking, living proof that you can literally do whatever you set your mind to. Like coming from the, what's it called, the pulpit to, I learned a new word yesterday when I was prepping for this interview, guys. I'm like, let me throw it in before we wrap this up.
It.
But coming from that to deciding that real estate is where it's at, and building a global empire with no prior knowledge of how this industry works is just mind-blowing and incredibly inspiring. So with that, if you had one thing that you could whisper in the ear of 20-year-old you, what would that be?
Go get it.
Get it, girl. And drop and give me 20. Thank you so much, Nat. This was amazing.
Thank you.
And see you in Dubai.
I will see you in Dubai.